This will be the last video in our series on airline pricing, and the last thing we have to talk about are fare decreases. So we talked about fare increases, let's talk about decreases, and we're going to reuse this demand curve, decreases. We're going to reuse this demand curve, but we're not going to talk about it too much because I think we've already explored this in depth. But just to complete the example, remember when we talked about fare increases, we were looking at operating in the inelastic portion of the demand curve, because if you're in a demand environment where demand is inelastic, then if you increase fares, then revenue should also go up. But if you're looking to decrease prices, decrease fares, then you want to operate in the elastic portion of the demand curve, because decreasing prices will stimulate demand and that will result in increased revenue. So that's all we're going to say about that. Let's talk through an example of why airlines decrease fares and how they do it. So let's say why airlines decrease. Wow, my handwriting today is not too good, huh? And actually, when we say decrease fares, what we're going to talk about are fare sales. So why do airlines put fares on sale? There are cases where airlines will actually lower the fares permanently, but we're just going to stick to this one example of when airlines put their fares on sale. And why would they do that? Well, let's take an example of when an airline would and wouldn't need to put their fares on sale. And the example we're going to use is the summer travel period. Summer travel. So in the summer months of July and August, generally the demand for airline travel is very high in most places. So this is the time of year when airlines really make their money. They use all of their capacity, so they will try to allocate all their capacity. In other words, they will try to not do the routine maintenance and things that they don't do charters and things that they do in other times of the year to make use of their idle capacity. In the summertime, airlines put all of their available capacity, all of it that they can, into their markets, because they know there's a lot of demand, and that's when they're going to make their money. So you won't see a lot of sale activity in the summertime. You should see very little. The only thing you would see is tactical stuff for certain regions or certain markets that are not operating as the demand is not as heavy as the broader network for airlines. But in general, you're not going to see these broad fare sales. So obviously, airlines are not putting their fares on sale when their planes are full at the current fares. Now, conversely, moving from summer to fall is one of the most challenging things for airline managers to deal with, because in the summer, all the capacity is utilized, and most airlines wish they had more capacity in the summer. But moving into the fall travel period, you have kind of the opposite happening. So in the summertime, families are on vacation, kids are out of school, the weather is good in most parts of the world. There's a lot of reasons for people to travel. Well, moving into the fall, kids go back to school, the weather is starting to turn, people have already had their vacations, and demand falls off very steeply. Well, just because demand falls off doesn't mean that the capacity goes away. So what airlines will do is they will they will put the fall period on sale to move the inventory that they are carrying through into the fall period. So they can't adjust capacity to match the lower demand, so they're going to lower their fares to stimulate demand to make use of the available inventory. So generally, the goal of fare sales is to stimulate demand. Okay, and this is the same for a retailer or anybody who's trying to move inventory. You lower your price to try to move your inventory, even if that means that you're not making as much profit, particularly in industries where the inventory is perishable. You'd rather get something for that inventory than let it spoil. So we often say that airline seats will spoil once the flight takes off. So rather than have that seat go out empty and spoil, we'd rather get something for it. We'll lower the fare and try to stimulate the demand to get some customer in that seat rather than going out empty. The other thing that occurs though with fare sales and that airlines have to be concerned with is share shift. So in addition to the stimulation, there's going to be some share shift. And that has to do with the timing of the sale and who initiates the sale. So let's scroll down here and just talk about the timing. So as I say, you can count on it. There is going to be a broad airline sale in the summer months for the fall travel period, at least in the US. So sometime in July and August, some airline is going to put the fall season on sale. And the airline that initiates the sale will, for a short period of time, get some share shift from the airlines that are not yet on sale. So share shift, sorry about that. Share shift. We also call this the bump. So there's some bump in traffic. So let's say Airline 1 decides on a Monday morning, the last week of July, that they're going to put their fall travel season on sale. Well, there'll be some period where Airline 1's fares are lower than their competitors, Airline 2, let's say. And in addition to the demand stimulation that they'll get from those lower fares, they will also get this share shift from people who were looking at Airline 2 but are now going to fly on Airline 1 because they're cheaper. Now that window is pretty short. It will be less than a day certainly, and Airline 2 will come along or Airline 2 or whatever the competitors are in the market will come along and close that gap. But that initial bump can be very valuable. So airlines are very concerned about that. They want to be the first ones out. And you can see from year to year, this sale period shifts around. Lately, you've been seeing it move from early August to late July and even to early in July because the airlines don't want to be the ones that follow the sale. They want to be the ones that initiate the sale. They know the sale is going to happen anyway. So they want to, if the sale is going to happen, they want to be the first ones out so that they get the share shift as well as the demand stimulation. Well, this is a little bit of a game that they play because when is the right time to have the sale? It's not just about getting out first. It's about capturing the stimulation. So generally, people who are thinking about fall travel are thinking about it in August, maybe late July. But if you get too early in July, then you're not going to get the stimulation you were hoping for because people aren't even thinking about fall travel. They're still thinking about summer travel. So you don't want to move the fare sale too early or you'll miss out on the stimulation, which is the biggest impact, the biggest benefit of the fare sale. And that will outweigh any gains from getting the bump in the share shift. And you know what happens when you put fares on sale and you don't get the stimulation that you're looking for is you only decrease the revenue you would have gotten anyway. And that has that can come from mistiming the sale, or the other thing that we need to talk about is how the sale is executed. So we're going to segue a little bit into promotions. So promotions. So you want, the airline wants the sale to be a success. They don't want to just lower fares and get less revenue, obviously. They want those lower fares to stimulate demand. So they have to pick the right timing for it so customers will respond to it. They also need to let their customers know that there's a sale going on. So any sale is generally accompanied by some sort of promotion. So when we say that airlines like to think about it, sales without promotions lead to dilution, and dilution lead to dilution. So dilution means if I put my fares on sale and I don't tell anybody that there's a sale, then the only customers who are going to buy those lower fares are the folks who were looking for those fares in the first place. So I'm not getting much of the demand stimulation. I may get some because people who are looking are more likely to buy at the lower fares. But the real benefit comes from letting people know that there's a sale going on and they can come and look for those opportunities. So any sale is going to be accompanied by some sort of promotion. It may be, traditional advertising in newspapers, although that's becoming less and less common because the reach just is not there. It may be social media, it might be online marketing, search engine optimization, keyword buys, all of the things that are becoming effective in retail or travel to promote sales that are going on in the marketplace. So whenever you see a sale, you will almost always see some sort of advertising accompanying that sale to ensure its success. So that's all we're going to say about fare sales for now. I picked just one example of a sale period. It's a very broad period in the year because it's an obvious time that airlines would want to have sales. Of course, there's much more going on in the market, a lot of tactical stuff, maybe market by market or region by region. But this is a good example of something that happens every year and you can count on because the capacity that airlines are carrying in the summer is not going to, the demand for that capacity is not going to be sufficient in the fall period. So they need to stimulate demand with lower fares.